Hey, what's up? Chris Weinert here, doing a quick video on Saturday. Would it be the 28th of October? Wow, a lot of stuff going on in the world. A lot of stuff that I've been calling for a long time. I guess it's better to be early than late, but sometimes when you're a little bit ahead of the curve on some of these announcements, they may sound like outrageous claims, but I think now, revisiting some of these outrageous claims that I've made, I think, are tying together a pretty solid picture of what to expect in the next coming few months. And as I mentioned, this would be the collapse of much of the financial institutions. So I think we've already been seeing that since March of this year. And there's been ways that the Fed has been covering up and injecting cash into these institutions, or even rolling them into the umbrella infrastructures of some of the bigger houses, like liquidating their assets and giving them to J.P. Morgan, like they did in the '08 thing. A lot of stuff with the LBMA, the housing, the mortgage-backed securities, the default swaps. A lot of this stuff went from the broken, bankrupt houses into Morgan, and they took over a lot of that stuff, along with some of the other big 7 or 8 houses after Lehman crashed and Bear Stearns and many of the other ones. So there's a lot of corporate restructuring that went on back then, and a lot of paper went over this toxic debt. And as I said, most of that debt came due in like 2019, third quarter, September. And you could tell when the yield curve inverted, the repo market went nuts. A lot of other things went crazy back then. I was surprised that the reset and the thing didn't come there. But that was really when they rolled out the COVID plan. And put that whole thing on, and it was like a stay of execution, a way to paper it down. Similar to the wars with Ukraine and now Israel and whatever else, these are ways to just, loot money and keep this paper tiger floating. And I'll say that this is really a stay of execution for the traders of this country, the ones that have liquidated our assets, our entitlements, and our wealth. And we are stranded between the paradox of really open rebellion against a technocratic feudalist tyranny, or remaining compliant so that we can receive our entitlements from said tyrants. And I'd have to say, given the track record of these people, I wouldn't trust anything that they have of yours in their hands. And certainly the banking institutions, given the fact that they've had fractional reserve banking with no reserve requirements, compound interest, and many other advantages to just print money out of nothing and put it into existence, and somehow or another are still bankrupt and this much leveraged into toxic debt and a debt spiral in the way that they are, no fucking way. J.P. Morgan has got over almost $60 trillion in derivatives alone, just them. And Citibank has about the same. Bank of America is like 50 some. Goldman Sachs is right in there with close to $60 trillion. This is a lot of money. You're talking a quadrillion between those 4 places alone. So that's pretty significant. And I would also say that we're 34 trillion almost in debt, and somehow or another, I don't know how this happens. I remember in 2001 we were less than $1 trillion in debt. So you're talking the war of terror and this whole, rule the sandbox to be henchmen for the House of Rothschild banking institutions. Somehow or another, that has put us to this level of liability, not only economically, but think of politically and socially. And just what it's done to the fabric of this good country and the people within it. They are being propagandized and torn into pieces, generation against generation, women against men, liberal against conservatives, all by these controlled opposition offerings that are run into these death and debt spirals on purpose.